जी एक्स्ट्रा है, कोई नहीं, रख दो यहाँ पे, कोई और एंगल ले लेंगे. Very good afternoon to all of you. So let's continue our discussion with the first topic of nation and state. So as I said, those who are from the background might understand the difference between these two words, and those who are coming from other background, now you will clearly understand the difference between nation and state. So how many states we have in the world? 193. State or country? Okay, country is a geographical indication of the word state. And in which context we use the online students? I am audible now. So a handout would have been uploaded for you, that is nation and state. So if we are saying that how many countries we have, so it means how many states we have, how many nations we have in the world. Is it the right statement to give how many nations we have? Okay. So what you think India is? India is a state or India is a nation? India is a nation state? Or we have yet to become nation state? I'm expecting answers from those who have not read about this particular thing during your graduation and not attended GS yet. What do you think, engineers in the class, India is a nation, India is a state, or India is a nation state? Kya hai India? Because political science begins and ends with state. So first, most important concept is state. That's why first you need to understand what state is. So India is a state, or India has yet to become a state? Don't tell me. Huh? India is a state or India has yet to become state? India is a state. Is India a nation state? Is India a nation state? Or India has yet to become a nation state? But India is a state. When India became the state? 47. And when India will become nation state? Can you answer this? Do you think it will be possible for us to become a nation state? No. What is the biggest hindrance in front of India to become a nation state? So that's why first, to answer these questions, do not answer these questions. To answer these questions, go through this particular handout, the first 8 points, the difference between nation and state, and then we'll touch these questions again. Fan क्या बंद करना है? कहाँ है इसका switch? Check करो switch कहाँ पर है? पीछे होगा उसका switch. So a quick read of these 8 points, nation and state. First 8 points. Even if you will not able to understand anything, that's totally fine. You just read these 8 points. अपना मेल आईडी ओपन कर. मेल तो अपनी खोल सकता है. ओके ओके ओके, तो फिर इसमें होगा रोहित एंड Done. हाँ यही है. Done. And let me know once you all are done with. And online students, it will always be better if you will sit with your webcams on. So after reading these 8 points, I hope you are able to understand the basic difference between nation and state. What is the basic difference you are able to understand? That nation is a psychological, emotional concept, while state is a political concept. India became state in 47 after independence, but India is yet to become what? Nation. So it means we do not have the requisite national unity. We do not have, till the time there are secessionist tendencies, till the time there are violent secessionist movements going on within the country. It means what? We have yet to become what? Nation. That's why we use the word national integration. After independence, one of the biggest challenge in front of the leadership of India was what? National integration. Okay. This was the challenge only. Abhi sunte jana bas. This was the challenge only which was thrown in front of the leaders of Indian National Congress. India is not a nation. So nation is a European concept. Last class, I told you when this concept emerged. French Revolution. So nation is a European concept. Many things will be there in this lecture for even the GS students. So keep listening very carefully. We are going to take this discussion one level up. Okay. So it was the British who threw this challenge in front of the leaders that India is not a nation. Because we are not a nation, that's why we are not eligible for statehood. But the nationalists of India, nationalists countered this view by saying that what? India was a nation. India is a nation and India will remain a nation. So India as a state at present ends where? Our political borders with Pakistan. India as a nation ends where? Akhand Bharat. So this notion of this notion of Akhand Bharat is the concept of nation. And India is the land of nationalities. That's why we say India is the land of nationalities. So if within a state there are multiple nationalities, this is a challenge for what? Fill in the blank. National integration. If there are multiple nationalities within a state, this will pose a challenge for what? National integration. So multiple nationalities within a state will pose a challenge for national integration. Right? Now, as a UPSC aspirant, you need to have what? Strong, what kind of identities? For national integration within India, people need to have strong what? National identity. So as a UPSC aspirant, you need to hold strong national identity, that is identity of India. Right? Now, the idea of India can be different for different people. Idea of India can be different for different people. That's why you will understand in this subject later that what is going on in the world is clash of ideas. All violence which prevails in the world is about clash of ideas. Whose idea is more right? This is subjective. It depends on whose side you are. So it is not about right and wrong. It is about what? Clash of ideas. And that's why more you will understand this subject, more you will start appreciating one leader, that is Gandhi. Okay, you will start appreciating Gandhi. That solution for the political issues lies where? Non-violence. Because violence will lead to more violence. And this vicious circle of violence will never end. Okay, vicious circle of violence will never end. It will lead to more violence. Whose violence is more right? This is subjective. So you hold one idea of India. another particular group holds some other idea of India, right? That group it will lead to clash between these two groups. Now, whose idea of India is more right? This is subjective or not? Because nation is a emotional, psychological concept. So let's say a group who is fighting for their own statehood, they will become what? Nationalist. So Naga nationalist or Naga terrorist, it is subjective or not? Bodo nationalist or Bodo terrorist, it is subjective or not? Because they are also fighting for what? Their idea of nation. It's just their idea of nation is different from the rest. That's why the issue of terrorism is very subjective. One man's terrorist is others nationalist. So who is terrorist, who is nationalist? This is subjective or not? So Kashmiri nationalist or Kashmiri terrorist, this is subjective or not? It depends on what? The idea of India, right? So if you see the first point, so as I said, that in India, we need to have strong what? National identities. Do you think we have strong national identities in India? Do we have strong national identities? Those in the, all those who are sitting in this class, you think you have strong national identity rather than some other identity? What is your strongest identity? National, India ki, being Indian. What is your strongest identity? In general, what is the strongest identity people hold in India? Regional. So before national, what comes? Regional. Before regional comes what? Caste. So in India, we hold strong caste-based identities. So caste identities are more stronger than regional, and regional more stronger than national. And this is one of the major challenge in front of national integration. And when we brought the policy of reservation, there was a reason Constituent Assembly decided that we need reservation to incorrect historical injustice. And we decided to make what as the basis of reservation? Caste. And this has turned into vote bank politics. And caste rigidities and caste identities are becoming more and more stronger. And that's why now the demand that rather than caste, what should be the criteria of reservation? Economy. So strongest identity in India, people hold our caste. कास्ट को हिंदी में क्या कहते हैं? जाति. जो कभी ना जाए वो जाति. The thing which will go from womb till tomb in this country, it is your caste. Anyone in the class who claims that I do not understand the caste dynamics in India? How many of you can say that you do not understand the caste dynamics, low caste, high caste? You do not understand that who are from high caste, who are from low caste? I do not understand caste dynamics within India, and I do not relate with caste. There are many. Even I never used to understand the caste dynamics. How many of you do not understand the caste dynamics? By knowing the caste, you should be able to tell that person is from high caste and low caste. I'm sure there will be many who do not understand the caste dynamics. आपको list दी जाएगी as a DM, because you will going to be the signing authority, so that you can understand who all comes under OBC in this district, who all comes under ST in this district. So how many of you do not understand the caste dynamics in India? All those, as said by Ambedkar, all those who do not understand the caste dynamics are from upper caste. So to understand the caste dynamics in India, you have to be from lower caste. So this is real in India, right? So strongest are caste. We need to dilute caste identities or not for making strong national identities, and this is the challenge. So India is yet to become what? Nation. We became the state, but we are in the process of becoming nation state when we have strong national identities over regional and caste, when we do not have violent secessionist movements within the country, when there will be peace in Northeast, at that day we'll be able to claim that India is a nation state. समझे? पहले सुन लो थोड़ा सा और. अच्छा जी, पूछो. हाँ, तो we have strong caste religion identity and we have regional identities, है ना? So we'll tell you more about this. Just wait for more discussion. Now, first point says what? State is a political organization. Nation is a emotional psychological concept. So psychological concept, it's the idea you hold, and there can be a different idea for different territories or not. Yes. Now, what are the 4 elements of a state? Tell me. Population, territory, sovereignty, and government, right? These are the 4 elements of state. The most important element of state is sovereignty. I told you, I guess I'm not sure whether in the first class I said this or not. The core interest of every state is sovereignty. So the most important element is sovereignty. Now, details will come to you later. Those who, I'm sure few of you might be aware of a terrorist organization with the name Islamic State, which later turned to ISIS, Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. How it emerged, what led to its emergence, what was the objective, these things will come later. So Islamic State emerged in West Asia with the objective to acquire the territories of Iraq and Syria. So they brought the territories under their control. So they fulfill one element. Population was living in that territory. Yes. They created their own hierarchy of administration too, with the head of IS, Baghdadi, declared himself as Khalifa with their own armed wing too. So they created the government too. Can we say IS as an entity which is sovereign? Can we say IS as a sovereign entity? And if IS was sovereign too, so IS fulfill all the 4 criteria or 4 elements of a state. So can we say Islamic State as a state? Bolo? Was IS sovereign? No. So here you are getting confused between sovereignty and recognition. Yes, IS was sovereign. What is sovereignty? What do you understand from the meaning of the word sovereignty? One who is free, who is not being controlled and influenced by any outside interference. Terrorist groups, keep this thing in mind. Terrorist groups are most sovereign. Terrorist groups are most sovereign. Terrorist groups will not listen to any particular body. Terrorist groups are beyond the control of any other entity. So terrorist groups are most sovereign entities. Taliban, Al-Qaeda, Lashkar, Jaish, Hizbul, the leaders of these organizations are sovereign. They are not being controlled and manipulated by anyone else. States, who all are the members of UN, they have diluted their sovereignty a bit. States, it is expected that states needs to abide by the rules and the regulations of UN. Yes. So if UN will pass a regulation, it is expected that states needs to follow that. So states have diluted their sovereignty by being a party to UN, and UN is seen as a supranational body. We'll make you write the definition of supranational body later. So what UN is? A kind of supranational body in which states or through under which states have agreed to dilute their sovereignty. So states are not that sovereign. Who are the most sovereign entities? The violent terrorist groups. So now they have fulfilled all the 4 elements. But can we say IS as a state? But they claim what? Islamic State with their own flag and constitution. A territory to become a state in international system requires recognition from 2/3 members of UN. Then a territory becomes state. So how many states we have? 193. The 193rd state was South Sudan. There are many territories who are aspiring for what? Statehood. Samjhe? Many territories who are aspiring for statehood. Jewish nationalism led to the creation of State of Israel. Okay. So within India, issue of Khalistan is an issue of statehood or nation? Statehood. Khalistani nationalists are aspiring for what? State. So their idea of India is different. So Khalistani terrorists for whom? Who consider Punjab as part of India. And Khalistani nationalists for whom? Those who consider Khalistan is not a part of India. So things are subjective or not? Who is right or wrong? It is subjective. समझ में आई बात? फर्स्ट पॉइंट क्लियर है. सेकंड पॉइंट, टेरिटरी इज एसेंशियल फॉर स्टेट बट नॉट फॉर नेशन. इजराइल स्टेट नहीं था, देयर वाज नो स्टेट लाइक इजराइल, बट स्टिल Jewish nationalism was there or not? Yes, right. Jewish nationalism was there. Sovereignty is essential for state but not for nation. Sovereignty is one of the element of state. Okay. Which concept is wider, nation or state? Nation. India as a state ends where? International border with Pakistan, but India as a nation ends where? Afghanistan, Akhand Bharat. ठीक? There can be multiple nationalities within a state. Yes. So European idea, I'll make you right. European idea was unity in uniformity. All those people who can establish themselves as nation can aspire for statehood. मैं दोबारा बोलता हूँ, European idea is unity in uniformity. All people who can establish themselves as nation are eligible for statehood. So you will see a lot of homogeneity within the states of the West, like Germany. Germany for whom? German. Lot of homogeneity, same language, same culture. France for French. Britain for British. But that's why Britain, they throw this challenge in front of the Indian nationalists. India is not a nation, so India can't aspire for state, right? But our concept is unity in diversity. Diversities can live within a state, which is a political concept. So multiple nationalities can live within a state. Yes, they can, but it will going to pose a challenge for what? National integration. Which is more stable? Which concept is more stable? Nation. So if we'll have strong national identities, it will end what? Secessionist tendency. It will suppress what? Regionalism, right? So nation is more stable. Who needs force? Who needs force to keep territories intact? State. And state will justify the use of force on the name of integrity, sovereignty. And integrity, sovereignty is the core interest of a state. What is the core interest of every state? Integrity, sovereignty. So state will justify force on the name of integrity, sovereignty, right? Other party will also fight and use force on the name of their integrity, sovereignty, that they are fighting for what? Their sovereignty, because their idea of nation is different. I hope all of you are getting the things. Still, if you are not, I hope you are clear with these 8 points, all of you. Okay. Tell me this. Again, I'll not expect the GS students to answer. When we say, see, states in the West are the outcome of natural process. Okay. They are the outcome of states evolved naturally. But here in the third world countries, states are the outcome of imperialism. Who carved out states, Afro-Asian states? Who carved out third world countries? Imperial powers, right? What is imperialism? Define imperialism. I hope many of you are coming from history background and you can give me a definition of at least imperialism and colonialism. What you understand from these two words, and is these two words hold similar meaning or they have a different meaning altogether? What is imperialism? Who will define it? You can't. What is imperialism? Try. Think and try. Hanji. I don't think so anyone would have been able to understand what you said. हाँ बिल्कुल करो. अच्छा पहले first ये बताओ, imperialism and colonialism are two different terms or they have the same meaning? They have different meanings. They are same. Okay. What do you think? They have different meaning or they hold the same meaning? That is, we can use these two terms interchangeably, imperialism, colonialism.
So they are different.
Divya, control. हाँ जी, डिफरेंट है. एक्सप्लेन कर सकता है इंपीरियलिज्म को? I was not able to understand what he said. Good that you agree to what he said. हाँ जी. Okay. Okay. What she said is right. Or you want to add something else in that, in this? Okay. Okay. It was British imperialism in India, or it was British colonialism in India? Colonialism. पक्का ब्रिटिश colonialism था? दोनों थे? पक्का? या वाइस उल्टा है, पहले इंपीरियलिज्म था फिर colonialism हुआ? पहले क्या था? पक्का? अच्छा, कब तक colonialism था, कब से कब तक, और फिर इंपीरियलिज्म हो गया? वेरी गुड, वेरी गुड. इंपीरियलिज्म मीन्स, हिंदी ऑफ इंपीरियलिज्म इज साम्राज्यवाद. साम्राज्यवाद मुर्दाबाद, इनकलाब जिंदाबाद. Down with imperialism, long live revolution. Are we considering revolutionaries as terrorists? No, we consider them as revolutionaries because they were fighting against imperialism, right? What is imperialism? Political control over a territory. What is colonialism? Economic exploitation of a territory without having the political control over that territory. Very good. So when East India Company came and acquired special trading rights from the court of Jahangir, it was start of British colonialism in India. When after the revolt of 1857, British Parliament took over the direct political control of India and Queen Victoria became the Empress of India, start of British imperialism in India. समझाया? Era of direct imperialism ended with the end of Second World War. Who was the strongest imperial power world has seen? Britain. But era of neo-imperialism started after the end of Second World War. And who is seen as the strongest neo-imperial power? US. अब सुनते जाओ. Dynamics we'll discuss later. Within Afghanistan, Taliban was in power. And US projected Taliban is a threat for world peace. It's a Islamic fundamentalist outfit who wants to impose Sharia, who is against liberties. So US started a war, global war against terror against Taliban. Taliban lost the control and US brought leadership of Northern Alliance in power. And who became the president? Hamid Karzai. Now US projected that we have restored what? Democracy in Afghanistan. For Taliban, this leadership is the puppet of US. Indirectly, US wants to control over Afghanistan. This will become neo-imperialism. War against imperialism, revolution. And war against neo-imperialism, revolution. So in the worldview of Taliban, they were doing jihad against the US. That is their war against the Western imperialism. So Taliban is terrorist? Is Taliban terrorist or they are revolutionaries fighting against Western imperialism? Subjective. Join नहीं करना Taliban जाके, इतने impress मत हो जाना. So subjective. And here come Gandhi. Violence will lead to more violence. So who is terrorist? समझ के बाद. So for them, they are fighting against Western imperialism and they are revolutionaries, mujahids, right? End of British imperialism in India for a few Kashmiri nationalists, end of British imperialism, start of Indian imperialism, and their war is against Indian imperialism, and war against imperialism is revolution. So they are not terrorists, they are mujahids, revolutionary. But you consider them as terrorists because you have a different idea of India. So in this subject, we have clash of ideas. So end of imperialism, but start of neo-imperialism. Just don't worry at all. Now, we consider this region as our sphere of influence. ये बताया था आपको. We'll give you the meaning of this word later, but you have the vocabulary now that we consider South Asia as the sphere of influence of our, where we want to keep our political influence intact. So we want a pro-Indian government in Nepal, and elections are due in Nepal. You serving as a diplomat in Nepal, will you try to rig the elections there by bringing pro-Indian leadership there? Indirect political influence in Nepal will become. So India is the imperial power in the region. For whom? Nepali nationalists. And you are an agent of imperialism in Nepal. So you are a diplomat or agent of imperialism? Diplomat for whom? India. But an agent of imperialism for whom? Nepali nationalist. So India project itself as big brother. They see India as imperial power. Samjhe? So this is your idea of India, and there can be a group whose idea of India can be different or not. So again, I'm saying it is one man's nationalist becomes others terrorist. Samjhe? This is the subjectivity involved in the concept of nation. Now, who has created the states? Third world countries are created by whom? Imperial powers. And while creating the states, they have not given due consideration towards what? Ethnicities. And that's why there are same ethnicities along the opposite side of the border. Samjhe? There are same ethnicities along the opposite sides of the border, right? So yes, so that's why the definition of terrorist and terrorism is subjective. Who is terrorist? Because the group we are projecting as terrorist consider itself as nationalist. And that's why the most objective definition, in detail we'll discuss later, for the time being, the most objective definition of a terrorism is violence against democracy is terrorism. इसको लिखना, नोट बना के लिख लो. Violence against democracy is terrorism, because violence against democracy is terrorism. Now, core interest of every individual is power. Core interest of every state is power. I told you in the first class. So a particular group who is fighting, it is fighting basically for what? Power. In a democracy, ballot is the way to acquire power. Bullet can't be the way to acquire power. Anyone who is aspiring for power through bullet is terrorism. So that's why left-wing extremism, Naxalism is terrorism. Right? Ballot is the way. You can't go with a gun in front of the board saying I need 220 marks. Okay. If you will not give it to me, I'll join Naxalism. And the sole responsibility of you making, it will be the responsibility of you making Naxal. I came to become officer, but you have not given me marks. So now I am a Naxal, right? State failed to fulfill my aspirations. No, it will not work in democracy. No one is allowed to use violence to acquire power. Any person or group using violence to acquire power will become what? Terrorism. Now, on paper, the state of Pakistan is democracy. इसमें तो doubt नहीं है ना? On paper, I hope you have checked the political systems of the countries in the neighborhood. कर लिया check? So on paper, Pakistan is a democracy. Now, if today Pakistan, the state of Pakistan, the military in the state of Pakistan acquires power directly, military wants to keep civilian leadership in check. But military these days do not want to acquire power directly. If military acquires the power directly, Pakistan will become military dictatorship. And those groups who are fighting in Pakistan, their violent struggle against the dictatorship of Pakistan will become freedom movement. On paper, Pakistan is democracy. There is a violent group in Pakistan with the name BLA, Baluchistan Liberation Army. So BLA is fighting for what? Liberation of Baluchistan. So Baluchs of this region feel that their identity is different. So Baluch nationalist or Baluch terrorist, nationalist for whom? Themselves or us, terrorists for whom? State of Pakistan. So right now Pakistan is democracy, and that's why the violent movement of BLA will be seen as terrorism. But if military will take over the direct political control, it will become dictatorship, and violence against dictatorship is revolution. And that's why Pakistan's military can't afford to acquire power directly. If today the people of Saudi Arabia start a violent struggle against the monarchs of Saudi, that will be seen as terrorism? No, revolution. Samjhe? Similarly, there is a violent group here in Pakistan. They are Pashtuns. So Baluch nationalism and Pashtun nationalism is a threat for the integrity of the state of Pakistan. And I said, imperials created the state without giving due consideration to ethnicity. In this region also, in Afghanistan, there are Pashtuns. And this is Durand line, which separates Afghanistan from Pakistan. And Pashtuns of this region till date has not accepted the legality of Durand line. So Pashtuns nurtures the aspiration of what? Integration. So Pashtun nationalism threat for whom? State of Pakistan. Ab samjh mein aayi baat? Difference. So you need to understand the difference between imperialism and colonialism. So era of imperialism ended and the era of neo-imperialism started, and so-called terrorists in their worldview, they are fighting against imperialism. And violence against imperialism is revolution. Right? So who is nationalist, who is terrorist is very subjective, because the idea of nation is subjective. I use the word Islamic fundamentalist for the political outfit that is Taliban, right? I use this word Islamic fundamentalist for the political outfit that is Taliban, that they are a Islamic fundamentalist organization. They want to govern Afghan through the strict version they want to govern through Sharia law. And they have a very harsh interpretation of Islamic laws, which they want to impose. And for the West, this outfit is a Islamic fundamentalist outfit. What you understand from the, that's why abhi iski clarity de raha hu, so that in future you will not have any kind of doubt. Fundamentalism. What you understand from the meaning of the word fundamentalism? Now, I hope you remember, ism becomes what? Ideologies. Imperialism is also a ideology. Imperialism for us, how they have justified their imperial policies? White man's burden. It is the white man who has toiled hard in the tropical heat of the sun to spread democracy in the world. They have their own justification of imperialism, which they justify in the form of white man's burden theory. Karenge sari baatein detail. They do not consider themselves as exploiter. They project themselves as what? Who has spread what? Light in the world. They have spread civilization in the world. That the people of third world countries were barbaric. And it is we who have taught them what? Civilizational values of democracy, countered by the Indian nationalists that the roots of democracy lies in Indian civilization. We have a values of pluralism and tolerance runs deep inside Indian civilization. And recently PM Modi said what? India is the mother of democracy. Anyways, Who is fundamentalist? कौन होता है fundamentalist? How you will define someone, tag someone as fundamentalist? If I'll ask you, if I'll tag you, I think you are fundamentalist. Will you accept that yes, you are? Or you will counter, no, sir, I am not. So for this, you need to have a clarity on this, that who is fundamentalist? Who is fundamentalist? Okay, very good. Religion. So in general, we associate this word with religion. No, it is beyond that. Likh lo, someone who has rigidity. Someone who holds rigidity in the belief and the value system. Someone who holds rigidity in the belief and the value system is being tagged as fundamentalist. So holding rigidity in the belief and the value system is fundamentalism. So always there's a clash between whom? Liberals and fundamentalists. Liberals are open for change. They are ready to embrace different values. But fundamentalists are one who hold rigidity in the belief and the value system, right? Belief system or value system, anyone who holds rigidity. In general, we associate or we fundamentalism as a word projects negativity, that it is not seen in a good light, the word fundamentalism or fundamentalist. Holding rigidity in the belief and the value system is fundamentalism, and anyone who does this is fundamentalist. If I'll ask you, do you have any such rigid belief for which you are ready to die and you will not compromise on that particular belief, but you will be ready to lay down your life? You prefer to give your life, but you will not compromise on that particular belief. And if you have such belief, you are fundamentalist. So do you think you are fundamentalist? हैं ऐसे बिलीव जिसके लिए मरने को तैयार हो? ग्रेट, इतनी जल्दी बना लिया ऐसे बिलीव्स. हाँ, जीएस वालों को तो पता है, उनके तो बन गए हैं. Engineering students who are coming directly from the engineering college, sitting in the class, hold such belief for which they are ready to die? नहीं. या हाँ, holding such beliefs is not wrong. If you have such beliefs and you want to live with those beliefs, it's totally fine. Imposing those beliefs through violence is violent fundamentalism, and violent fundamentalism is terrorism. So the two definitions of terrorism are violence against democracy, and violently imposing your belief and value system on others is terrorism. If someone wants to impose their belief through violent means, this is equivalent to what? Terrorism. So Islamic fundamentalists, they want to impose their interpretation of Sharia through violent means. So it becomes what? Terrorism. So Taliban is Islamic fundamentalist. Now you hold such belief and you want to propagate this belief through non-violent means, through rational debates and discussions. You are a reformer. Vivekanand, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, not a terrorist. समझ गए? Difference between a reformer and a terrorist. Both wants to propagate their beliefs. One is propagating through rational debates, discussion through non-violent means, and one propagating it through violent means. Doing this violently becomes what? Terrorism. Hanji. Near about same. Okay. Conservatives are those who hold pessimism. Satisfied pessimists are conservatives who do not have much hope for what? Who have no hope for the future. When we use word conservative, we do it in comparison to whom? Progressive conservative. And fundamentalist, we use the word in context of what? Rigidity in the belief and the value system. Clear hui baat? Now, so as you are, just a second. Now you are aspiring for UPSC. You are aspiring to become future bureaucrat. Do you think you need to hold some rigid beliefs for which you will not compromise, and rather you will prefer to lay down your life? which beliefs I'm talking about, for which you should be ready to give your life, but you will not compromise on that belief. ठीक है ना, तो बोर्ड में बोलोगे ना, yes, I have some rigid belief, and what is that? Integrity and sovereignty of the country. Second, you will not do what? Corruption, because corruption is the biggest threat. So you need to hold which beliefs? You need to hold some beliefs which are sacrosanct, that is integrity, sovereignty, and second, honesty. That's why we talk about integrity and honesty. समझ गए? So you need to have few beliefs. That will not make you fundamentalist. When we use word fundamentalism, it holds a negative connotation. ठीक? Yes.
Sir, can you please repeat who is a reformer?
Those who hold strong beliefs, but wants to propagate those beliefs through rational debates and discussions, they are reform. Now, you know this, that there is a lot of diversity within country. And when we are using the word diversity, it means India is a land of multiple nationalities. Despite this, despite diversities, India is still united or not? Yes. When India attained independence, the Western philosophers, the Western political scientists, they were not much hopeful about the future of India. They were very sure that soon we will see what? Balkanization of India. We'll soon see what? Disintegration of India. Why? Because India is a land of nationalities. Many keep raising this particular view till date, that India should not exist as a united country. Rather, India needs to be like EU, European Union. So it should be like Indian Union. There is a complete diversity from west to east, from north to south. But despite such diversity, India is still intact or not? Yes. So it means despite we have strong centrifugal forces, there are few strong centripetal forces which has kept us united. If I'll ask you, what do you think? Centrifugal are more strong in India or centripetal? If centrifugal are strong and India is still united, it means we are keeping it united through force, police, AFSPA. And using force, AFSPA, using force to keep a territory intact is imperialism. This is what British was doing in India, using force to keep India under their political control. So we are keeping a territory under our control using force or AFSPA against the will of the people. And if we are doing this, this is what? Imperialism. And war against imperialism, you know what it is? Revolution. आपको क्या लगता है? So we are, India is still united because of strong centripetal or because we are using force? Even if you think that it is force, do say it is centripetal. झूठ बोलना पड़ेगा, ठीक है? So even if we are keeping India united through force, if you'll say no, we are keeping it united through force, it means you are accepting India is what? Imperial power. In future, as a bureaucrat, you will be what? Agent of imperialism. By ICS services start किसने किया था? British, to keep their political control intact. बात समझ में आई? So you will not accept this what? That India is united because of force. India is united because of strong centripetal forces. Now tell me, on one side you can write centrifugal forces, on other side centripetal forces. What do you think are the centrifugal forces in India? Hey, Kashmir nahi. What are centrifugal forces? Ethnicities, caste, language, region, religion. Land of religion, India is. Land of ethnicities, India is. So many caste, diversity, language, cuisine, culture. ये सब क्या हैं? What are these? Centrifugal forces. All are centrifugal or not? Why not? Which cuisine you love? You are from which place? Which state? Uttarakhand. So you will, for sure you will have a affinity for what? Your own food and culture. नहीं? South का ज़्यादा पसंद है. So you are true Indian. पक्का Indian हो आप. ठीक है? ये तो क्या ही नहीं रहे. So you love India as a whole, but in general, people hold strong what? Regional. So these are centrifugal. But despite centrifugal, we have centripetal. You are the example of that. A North Indian loves which food more? South Indian. In general, spices. You will see a commonality in almost all of the Indian food is what? Use of spices. ये तो एक general बात हुई. What are the centripetal forces? What do you think is the strongest centripetal force in India? Indian freedom movement. ठीक है ना? United we fought against British. So Indian freedom movement is one of the strongest centripetal force. Other than this, our constitution, single citizenship, national flag, national anthem. Okay. Some cultural aspects of ours are centripetal. Despite diversity of culture, you will see a bit of commonality in every culture. What it can be? What it can be? Arey nahi. Despite diversity of cultures, we have respect for elders. The habit of touching the feet of the elders, you will see, prevails in almost length and breadth of the country. This is something very unique for whom? The West. In West, people do not touch the feet. But this is typically a trait of whom? Indian culture. Okay, na? This is Indian culture we talk about. Okay. So in European states, which forces are more strong, centripetal or centrifugal? Petal. In third world countries, still there's a presence of strong centrifugal forces, and that's why you can see violent secessionist movements prevailing where? In third world countries. And there are no violent secessionist movements where? In Western countries, because their state is the outcome of natural process, and here states are artificially created by whom? Imperial power. ये बात समझ में आई अच्छे से? Good. Now in continuation to your handout, the two theories, and at present the theory which prevails is constitutive theory, where to become a state you need international recognition. So to become a state, you need international recognition. Now see the first table. So the countries which you are reading, they are states. They are state in UN, means they are state in international system, means they have recognition from 2/3 members of UN. Yes. But there are disputes going on between two states. One state is not ready to give recognition to the other. For example, North Korea do not give recognition to South, and South do not give recognition to North. Ye disputed issues hai. So South Korea does not have recognition from North. You don't have to cram, just a glance. Armenia has not been recognized by Pakistan, but there is no other one who is claiming it. Cyprus not recognized by Turkey. Now there are two Chinas in the world. We'll discuss later when we'll discuss India and the world. One is PRC, People's Republic of China, and one is ROC, Republic of China, that is Taiwan. After the end of Second World War, two Chinas emerged. One, a communist China, other one, the democratic China. At that time, China acquired the permanent membership in UNSC. Who used to represent China? Who used to represent as a permanent member in UN for the seat of China? ROC. Later, post 70s, ROC lost the PRC, replaced the ROC as the permanent member, and ROC lost the status of what? Statehood. Right now, ROC is not a state, and ROC is looking forward for what? Recognition from 2/3 members. ठीक? Similarly, Israel is yet to be recognized by few of the Arab states, but Israel is a state. Yes. Last year, an accord has been signed If you are reading your newspapers, I hope you can tell me the name of that accord which is signed between Arab states and Israel. Abraham Accord. I'm giving you as homework, those who are not aware, Abraham Accord is signed between which two Arab states and Israel? Okay, check karna. So these two Arab states has also given recognition to Israel. Next is a table of a territory who is aspiring for statehood, right? And we are talking about which territory? Palestine. Palestine as a territory is looking forward for what? Statehood. You can write it here on your handout itself, right? Palestine has acquired an observer status. Likh lo. Palestine has acquired an observer status in UN. Okay, observer status in UN. And India supported the observer status for Palestine. There's a reason why I'm telling you this. And India supported the observer status for Palestine. The difference between statehood and observer status is that observer status means you can only participate in meetings of General Assembly, but you do not have a voting right. Okay. Right. So India supported the observer status for Palestine, and India supports full statehood for the full statehood for Palestine. हम support करते हैं. We support full statehood for Palestine. Just remember the stand of India on this issue. Next is a table of those territories who are aspiring for statehood. They have yet to become state. They do have recognition from UN members, but they do not have recognition from 2/3 members. First of the territory is Kosovo. And Kosovo has declared independence from Serbia, right? And who supports the independence of Kosovo? US and West. Who is against the independence of Kosovo? Russia. Later you will understand these issues. So they are aspiring for statehood. A Serbian nationalist will see this aspiration of the people of Kosovo as what? And for them it is nationalism. And they will see Serbian nationalism as imperialism. So nationalism and imperialism is subjective or not? Nationalism, imperialism, and terrorism is subjective or not? And all three are ism ideologies with the objective to acquire power. कुछ समझ रहे हो? So pol science is not about right and wrong. It depends whose side you are. What is your idea? So you can think Ambedkar idea is right. You can say Marx idea is right. You can say Gandhian idea is right. And you can criticize all three and say my idea is right. But try not to. Okay. So sahi galat hai hi nahi. We will going to criticize each and everyone. We'll start with Plato and then we'll end up saying Plato is the biggest liar. So ज़्यादा परेशान नहीं होना, ठीक है ना? फिर हम एरिस्टोटल पर आएंगे. कहेंगे Aristotle's theory of justice is injustice in the present times. So his idea of justice is injustice, right? So we are going to criticize each and everyone. Next is, देख लो एक बार जल्दी से. So Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic. Then ROC. So Taiwan is looking forward for what? Statehood. Not getting recognition from 2/3 members. Why countries are not giving recognition? Because it will escalate tension with PRC and no one wants to escalate tension with PRC. ठीक? Republic of South Ossetia, Abkhazia. Do mark these territories in your atlas. ठीक है ना? है कहाँ ये वर्ल्ड में? I'm sure many of you are reading about these territories for the first time. ऐसी territories भी हैं in world में, right? So these are the territories which are disputed in the world politics. Then there are territories. It's wrong to write state. These are the territories who are getting recognition from non-UN members. They themselves are not UN member, but they are giving recognition to others. बोलो किस किस को recognition चाहिए, हम देंगे, right? So these are the disputed issues of world politics. I hope now every one of you is very clear with the idea of state and nation, and no one will going to forget about imperialism and why the issue of terrorism is so subjective, right? And why we hold the word fundamentalism in negative context. And clash between whom? Progressive and conservatives, and liberals and fundamentalists. Okay? Write something. Right. Political science as a subject begins and ends with state. As a subject begins and ends with state. Just a minute. So political science begins and ends with state. Write in bullet points. Right. Modern concept of state. Modern concept of state has evolved in the Treaty of Westphalia. PHALIA. Modern concept of state has evolved in the Treaty of Westphalia, signed in 1648. Signed in 1648. Which is the most important element of state? Sovereignty. Okay. So later you will come to know that this treaty established the concept of sovereignty. Bracket में लिखना है तो लिख लो. This treaty established the concept of sovereignty of state. Okay, that within a territory, who is supreme? State is supreme. So under this, so this treaty ended the confusion of two swords, that whose sword is supreme, emperor's sword or the sword of church. Karenge, how concept of state evolved, ancient to medieval to modern times. So Treaty of Westphalia is seen as the start of modern times because this treaty established the concept of sovereignty. ठीक है, तो फिलहाल ये लिख लो. Modern concept of state evolved in the Treaty of Westphalia, signed in 1648, as it established the concept of sovereignty. Next bullet point. The word nation comes from the Latin word nasci. Latin word nasci means race. And the concept of nation came from French Revolution. Came from French Revolution. Next bullet point, right? In a particular geography, comma, a particular race, or ethnicity develops. Race or ethnicity develops. And a particular way of life and culture evolves. Full stop. In conclusion, the strongest medium to express culture is language. Language. Full stop. Next bullet point. Thus, language, comma, ethnicity, comma, culture, comma, religion became the basis. It became the basis of recognition of oneness or nationhood. It became the basis of recognition of oneness or nation. And we in India, we have what? Don't write. In India, we have diversity in all. And that's why for India to become a nation is a challenge. So the biggest challenge in front of the leaders of India after independence was what? National integration. हम state integration नहीं use करते. We use the word national integration. ठीक है? Full stop. Next bullet point. The above idea of nation is European in origin. European idea. The above idea of nation is European in origin, and it is based on the idea of unity in uniformity. Unity in uniformity. Underline this. Full stop. This theory of nationalism is called as the theory of cultural nationalism. Is known as cultural nationalism. We'll stop. Next bullet point. In Indian context, this idea of nation that is cultural nationalism propounded by Jinnah and Savarkar. So they both related with the idea of what? Cultural nationalism. A state for whom? People of one religion. Okay. So who got impressed with this idea of cultural nationalism? Jinnah and Savarkar. This idea of nation propounded by Jinnah and Savarkar. Full stop. However, the leaders of Indian National Congress Leaders of Indian National Congress. Supported the idea of political nationalism. So there can be a short note on cultural versus political nationalism. Okay. Leaders of Indian National Congress supported the idea of political nationalism. That is the idea of unity in diversity. Unity in diversity means diverse ethnicities, people who speaks diverse language, having different cultures, can live within a state. Full stop. This idea is based on the Indian civilizational values. Based on the Indian civilizational values of pluralism and tolerance. Right? Pluralism and tolerance. Next bullet point.
So can you please repeat the sentence? Last one word. Pluralism next, sir.
This idea is based on the Indian civilizational values of pluralism and tolerance.
Yes, fine.
Right. Next bullet point. Right, the West or actually, right, the West made the concept of nation. West made the concept of nation as the unit of state. West made the concept of nation as the unit of state. That is, if people can establish themselves as nation. That is, if people can establish themselves as nation. Then they are eligible for recognition as a state. Then they are eligible for recognition as a state. So who are eligible for state? Those who can establish themselves as nation. So the British threw this challenge in front of whom? Indian leaders, that you are not eligible for state because you are not a nation. Then Indian nationalists came up with the theory of what? No, India was a nation. India is a nation and India will remain a nation. So we were nation. So it is not you that after coming, it's not like after the once the British came, we have acquired this unity. This unity prevails since ancient times. Okay, this debate will continue where? When we discuss Indian political thought and Indian national movement. Okay, so this debate will there will be a continuation of debate when we discuss the topics of Indian national movement, that how British threw this challenge in front of us and how we countered that. Okay, right. They are eligible for recognition of a state. Full stop. In non-Western world, most of the states are facing the crisis of nation building. I hope all of you can understand the meaning of this line. Just reread this. In non-Western world, most of the states are facing the crisis of nation building. Non-Western world means Afro-Asian countries, means third world countries. And these countries were formed after the end of Second World War. Why these countries are facing the crisis of nation building? Because their borders are artificially, and their borders are artificial, and they are created by whom? Imperial powers. Right? So Pakistan is an artificial state or not? Pakistan artificial state. The saying goes for Pakistan that within Pakistan, people are not united because of the love of Pakistan. They are united because of the hatred against India. So a country is still intact because they are holding what? Hate. So Pakistan is a artificial state. ये भी समझ लो. Though we'll continue this debate further when we'll discuss the dynamics of Cold War, right? Now, who created Pakistan? Who is responsible for the creation of the state of Pakistan? What historians has told you? Jinnah's political aspiration, failure of Indian National Congress to give the requisite confidence to the Muslims of India, okay, that it is not only working for the interest of the Hindus, or British policy of divide and rule, right? This is how historians has analyzed the creation of the state of Pakistan, right? There's another angle which prevails in politics, the angle being analyzed by political scholars, and you will better able to understand once we'll discuss the dynamics of Cold War, right? Whatever the reason was, let's say Pakistan was, you need to mute yourself. So Pakistan was created. So Pakistan is a state carved out by imperial powers, right? Communist China, PRC, believes in what? One China policy. And according to them, we are going to correct the historical injustice. Creating Pakistan, don't you think is an injustice against the people of Asia? It's not injustice against the people of Asia if there is no Hindu-Muslim rift. And if it was carved out to serve the, मैं अभी बताता हूँ in short, according to the scholars, according to the political scholar, Pakistan was created to serve the interest of the West. And till date, Pakistan is just serving the interest of the West. So if a territory is being created to serve the interest of the West, and till date, if it is serving the interest of the West, don't you think it's a historical injustice against us? Had there not been a Pakistan, if we would have been able to have a united India, probably by this time, we could have become the superpower or not? Because much of the energy we have wasted in fighting wars against whom? Pakistan. And these wars have served the interest of whom? Western elites. That is capitalist. That is the defense manufacturers. And that's what Gandhi said. All tensions in the world are pushed by capitalist. Because wars serve the interest for whom? The defense manufacturers. Who is the biggest supplier of weapons in the world? US. Where are the biggest defense manufacturers in the world? US. And US Congress, okay, US Parliament is dominated by whom? Controlled by whom? The defense manufacturer. Till day, US has not been able to bring or frame arms law. Why? Because defense manufacturers are not allowing US to bring such law within US. And every now and then we keep seeing what? Mass shooting incidents within US, right? So is US interested in world peace? Because if world peace will usher, it will lead to chaos. Where? In US. There will be mass unemployment in US or not? If world peace will usher. One day you wake up and you will come to know Kashmir issue solved, right? No war between Israel and Palestine. No tensions between Saudi and Iran. China is a democracy. Okay. And there is world peace. No one is fighting with anyone. Who all will be unemployed? कौन unemployed हो जाएगा? Defense manufacturers of US. Other than this, diplomats. Other than this, teachers of political science. What they will teach you? Peace. Is world peace possible? Yes. Who do not want peace to assure? The manufacturers. Who do not want people to be healthy? The pharmaceutical companies. The two biggest mafias in the world are defense lobbies and pharmaceutical companies. If you will establish a defense unit, you start manufacturing weapons, what you will aspire for? Tensions, conflicts and wars. तभी तो पैसे बनाओगे ना? Same is the no rocket science. So Pakistan was created to serve the interest of whom? West. You will understand later. And you'll be amazed to know the diplomacy of the West, that how they have maintained their hegemony. Probably I'll tell you this when we discuss Marxism to make you better understand what Marx said. So it's injustice if there is no Hindu-Muslim rift. If Muslims in India can live in peace with Hindus, and two-nation theory is irrelevant when millions of Muslims refuse to go and live where? In Pakistan, right? So can't the Muslims of this region live in peace with India, right? So Pakistan serving the interest of the West, and if we're able to create a united subcontinent, it will be in the interest of whom? The people of this region, and will start challenging the hegemony of whom? West. That's why the notion or the aspiration of Akhand Bharat is not wrong, right? Aspiration of Akhand Bharat is not wrong. Aspiration of Hindu Rashtra is wrong. India can't be 3H, Hindi, Hindu, Hindustan. But if you are aspiring for Akhand Bharat, what you are aspiring for? To correct the historical injustice. And to challenge whom? The Western hegemony. So onus falls on whom? The people of this region to reunite with whom? India. And have a peace in the region and have a unity in the subcontinent and challenge whom? The hegemony of the West. Right? Okay. So if anyone will aspire for Hindu Rashtra, it will lead to what? Violence, fundamentalism. Okay. So that's why in non-Western world, most of the states are facing the kya likha hai? Crisis of nation building, as most of the states are the product of colonialism and imperialism. Most of the states are the product of colonialism and imperialism. So Pakistan is a product of what? Colonialism and imperialism. The name of the border between the two is Red Cliff. It is artificial or not? And keep tolerating this is still continuing with the acceptance of what? Imperialism, colonialism, because borders are artificial. PM Manmohan Singh once said, I dream for the future where I should be able to have breakfast in Delhi, lunch in Lahore, and dinner in Kabul. Okay, because our forefathers used these statements, you will write when we discuss the dynamics of India-Pakistan. He said, I want to have breakfast in Amritsar, lunch in Lahore, and dinner in Kabul. Because our forefathers used to live like this. You aspire for the same future? So he was talking about what? Economic integration. But the right wing in India is aspiring for what? Political integration. Okay. Clear हुई बात? Difference क्या हुआ दोनों में? Difference between the aspiration of Akhand Bharat and Hindu Rashtra. So there is a clash going on between those who hold the aspiration of Ghazwa-e Hind and those who hold the aspiration of Hindu Rashtra. Both these aspirations are threat for liberals or not? Yes, and you need to fight with both forces in future. ठीक है? दोनों forces से लड़ना पड़ेगा because you want to protect the values of liberty. Because you want to create a society where there is no place for violence. ठीक? लिखो. Next, types of state in global politics. हाँ जी बोलो. हाँ जी. हम्म. बिल्कुल. नहीं, डेमोक्रेसी इज नॉट आइडियल. कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनलिज्म हम बाद में बात. हाँ ठीक है, बोल ले अपना क्वेश्चन. ठीक है. हम्म हम्म हाँ तो है ना, तो वो इंपीरियलिज्म हो जाता है ना, दैट व्हाट इंपीरियलिज्म हो जाता है. कीपिंग अ टेरिटरी अंडर कंट्रोल थ्रू फोर्स अगेंस्ट द विल ऑफ द पीपल इज व्हाट आई सेड, imperialism. So for them, for a so-called Khalistani terrorist, they are fighting against Indian imperialism and they are Khalistani nationalist. So one man's nationalist is others terrorist. So what is your idea of India? Hmm. You can't say if you are preparing for UPSC. If you are preparing for UPSC, then you can't say, because in the end you are looking forward to do what as a civil servant, as a officer in government of India, to fight against whom? Those who are fighting against the idea of India. And if you have a different idea of India, you can't continue with your civil services preparation. This is what the clash is. Hmm. Hmm. So yes, there's a debate. What exactly is democracy? मैं अभी आपको लेके नहीं जाना चाहता. I don't want you to take you all to this level of debate, because many might not be able to understand, because according to China, which is a communist state, समझते हो ना, CPC is in power, Communist Party of China. Communist Party of China claims what China is? PRC, People's Republic of China. So according to Communist Party of China, who is real democracy? Communist China. Because these so-called democracies are rules of the capitalist class. We'll continue this discussion later. For this, you need to wait for a few more lectures, that why democracy is being criticized by whom? Communist. Because communists claim democracy is the rule of propertied class. Who holds power in a democracy? Those who have money. Money and muscle rule in a propertied class. So democracy is not the rule of people. Which is the rule of people? Communist. Okay. Many do not believe that India became independent in 1947. Many believe India became independent in 2014 when Modi came to power. ठीक है? ऐसा भी है ना, किसी एक ने कहा था ना statement, who is the person who said this? India became independent in 14? कंगना रनौत. तो उसके लिए इंडिया कब इंडिपेंडेंट हुआ? 14 में हुआ है. Why the perception India didn't attain independent in 47? Especially for whom? Left-wing extremist. That it was just the transfer of power. Western capitalists left and power came into the hands of Indian capitalists, and the condition of the masses has not changed. And this was the view of Bhagat Singh, how visionary he was when he was just 22. Nothing will change if power will come in the hands of Indian National Congress, because they are just fighting for what? Power. Who is fighting for freedom and independence? Revolutionaries. They died during the course of freedom struggle. ठीक है? बहुत कुछ है अभी जानने को. Salmon Commission came to India. Which year? And there was a countrywide protest against Salmon Commission. Almost all the political parties in India protested against Salmon because it was an all-white commission, right? Based on the recommendation of Simon Commission, which was criticized, and against this there was a protest all over the country. Based on the recommendation of Simon Commission, which act was framed? 1935 Act. And after independence, many of the guidelines, many of the provisions we have directly taken from where? Act of 1935, which was created on the recommendation of Simon, against which whom protested? Indians. So many believe the Constitution of India is not sovereign. Why the belief Constitution is not sovereign? And you are going to take oath on whom? Indian Constitution. You are going to take oath on Indian Constitution, that you are going to protect the values of Indian Constitution. And many believe this Constitution is not sovereign. Why? Because Constituent Assembly, who framed the Constitution of India, was not elected after independence. It was designed as per the scheme of the British Parliament. Was British left, and then Indians went for elections, which led to the selection of the leaders of Constituent Assembly? No. Constituent Assembly was framed by whom? British Parliament. Who framed what? Who gave us what? Constitution. And that's why there are who do not believe Indian Constitution is sovereign. Who are fighting against the Constitution of India? Left-wing extremists, that is Naxal. They want to burn down the Constitution and they want to convert India into a communist state, that is real democracy. कुछ समझ आया मैंने जो बोला? थोड़ा बहुत भी 5-10%. ठीक है. So incrementally you will start inculcating these concepts. सब अंदर चला जाएगा आपके. ठीक है. So there is a debate. Is we are a real democracy? Because since independence, power is in the hands of whom? Capitalist class, where the conditions of the poor has not changed. So we do not have an inclusive growth. Fruits of development are going into the hands of selected few. This is the debate we'll continue when we discuss Marx. Right? Likho, types of state. In global politics, I'm giving you the word global politics, not world politics. There's a difference between these two words, global politics and world politics. So pehle bhi likh lo, types of states in global politics. Right, there are two types of state. Legal juridical states. Legal juridical states. And second, actual empirical states. Legal juridical and actual empirical. Right. Which states are legal juridical? Which states are legal juridical? Likho, a territory. A territory having all the 4 elements of state. You know now 4 elements now. A territory having all the 4 elements of state. With international recognition. With international recognition are legal juridical states. So all 193 countries in the world are legal juridical. Which are not legal juridical? Taiwan, Palestine, right? Chechnya region of Russia. They are not state. Kosovo. You can write Kosovo also. Who are legal juridical? All 193.
Sir, please repeat the definition. Sir, please repeat the definition.
Territory having all 4 elements and international recognition are legal juridical. Okay. So all 193 countries are legal juridical. फिर actual empirical कौन सी हुई? लिखो. Who are actual empirical? Even after being a legal juridical state, if state do not have strong political institutions, comma, no major violent secessionist movement, comma, smooth transfer of power, regular elections, comma, where rule of law prevails, and constitution is supreme. Constitution is supreme. Such states are called as actual empirical states. You can read it again, what you have written. Who are actual empirical states? Such states are called as actual empirical states. Example, what are the examples here? US, Sweden, Scandinavian state, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Japan, France, Western European countries comes under the category of, bolo, comes under the category of actual empirical state. दोबारा से पढ़ लो एक बार जो लिखा है. Just a quick read of what you have written. All states are legal juridical, but not every legal juridical is actual empirical.
Sir,
Which are not empirical, like Sudan, chaos, Liberia, lot of civil wars going on in Somalia. Newspaper में पढ़ते हुए कहाँ पर civil wars चल रही हैं? Where all you can see the civil wars and chaos, human right violations, Somalia and all. Niger, Chad, they are not actual empirical. In which category you will keep India?
actual empirical.
Actual empirical. Actual empirical है India? नहीं है. झूठ तो बोल ही सकते हो, नहीं भी है तो, हाँ, right? So India you will keep where? Actually. Where you will keep Pakistan? समझ गए? तो अब ब्रैकेट बना के लिख लो. So how we can solve the issue of Kashmir if Pakistan is not a actual empirical, as Pakistan is just a legal juridical. ठीक है? So where lies the solution of Kashmir? In mains you can write if Pakistan will become what? Actual empirical statehood. Do you think the leaders of Pakistan will accept this, that we are just legal juridical but not actual empirical? No. So Pakistan, if you are preparing for Pakistan Civil Services, you would write what? Pakistan is an actual empirical state. ऐसा ही है. लिखो. Write note बना के. The possibility of solving Kashmir issue will increase. Solving Kashmir issue will increase if Pakistan will become an actual empirical state. Will become a actual empirical state or a vibrant, responsible democracy. Okay? Or a vibrant, responsible democracy. So if anyone will ask you from now onward, where lies the solution of Kashmir? क्या कहोगे? On the other side of LOC. हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते, हमारे हाथ खड़े हैं, our hands are raised, we can't do anything. Solution lies where? On the other side of the LOC. Pakistan needs to become what? A responsible democracy. Until unless it will not happen, solution of Kashmir is not possible. So can Kashmir issue be solved? Yes. Solution lies where? Right. Full stop. At present within Pakistan, there are multiple centers of power. Power is not concentrated at one place in Pakistan. So try to remember these things when we finally reach to the discussion on Indo-Pak ties. Tab tak bhul mat jana. Right. At present within Pakistan, there are multiple centers of power. And thus Pakistan is seen as a deep state. Keep all this vocabulary with you. ठीक है ना? So UPSC mains answer writing is what? Compilation of your understanding and compilation of vocabulary. फिर आता है structure. So पहला काम structure making पे नहीं करना सर, intro, body, conclusion. पहले कुछ हो तो लिखने के लिए. So you need understanding, you need content, you need a vocabulary, and then you will be able to frame structures. Hanji,
So Pakistan is seen as a
deep state, deep. Deep where it is difficult to identify where power lies. Like in India, power center lies in the Parliament of India. But in Pakistan, there are multiple power centers. And I'm sure all of you understand the weakest is civilian leadership. Then there is military leadership. Then there is ISI. And then there are Islamic fundamentalists. So all of them hold significant influence in the politics of Pakistan. So there are multiple power centers. Right. The saying goes, Pakistan's foreign policy is influenced by 3 A's. ये तुम्हें GS में भी नहीं बताया था. हर चीज नहीं बताई थी ना वहां पे. Pakistan's foreign policy is influenced by 3 A's. 3 इक्के हैं. कौन से 3 इक्के हैं पाकिस्तान फॉरेन पॉलिसी को जो इन्फ्लुएंस करते हैं? आर्मी, अल्लाह, America. So the 3 A's which influence the foreign policy of Pakistan is Army, Allah, and America. Which one is the first out of these 3? America, Allah, or Army? Subjective. पता ही नहीं है, ठीक है ना? America, Allah, Army. 3 के भरोसे है पाकिस्तान. So I just said types of state in global politics. Now there's a difference between these two words, global politics and world politics. From GS perspective, both have the same meaning. From optional perspective, global politics is totally different from world politics, right? Global politics is equal to, formula hai, science hai na? Global politics is equal to world politics or international politics plus global governance. Around this formula, the whole paper 2 revolves. Global politics is equal to international politics plus global governance. Right, what is international politics? Or world politics, one and the same thing. Either you say world politics or you say international politics. World politics is the politics between these sovereign states. World or international politics is the politics between these sovereign states interacting with each other independently. Okay, when states are interacting with each other independently, this kind of politics which will evolve will be called as world politics or international politics. When 193 states are interacting with each other independently, we are interacting with US. Indian Prime Minister and US President are interacting with each other. This comes under the ambit of world politics, right? One and the same thing. One and the same thing. State or sovereign state, one and the same thing. So politics between the states interacting with each other or sovereign state. Now, right? Global governance. Right. Global governance is a dynamic and complex process. Dynamic and complex process of interactive decision making. Global governance is a dynamic and complex process of interactive decision making that involves formal and informal mechanisms formal mechanism. Full stop. The states remains the primary institution. States remains the primary institutions. But global governance involves around supranational bodies. But global governance global governance also involves supranational bodies like UN, IMF, EU. UN, IMF, and EU, European Union. So when states create an organization and dilutes their sovereignty, the organization which is the outcome of this particular process will be known as a supranational body, right? So like UN is a supranational body because it is expected states needs to comply with the rules, norms, and regulations of UN. Now, in the first class, I told you the core interest of the same state is integrity, sovereignty. Just for your understanding sake, I'm telling you, though details will come later in paper 2 again. Okay, so that you should not be confused after going home. Sir ne to kaha tha sabse bada that the core interest, the most important interest of state is sovereignty. And state themselves has created these supranational bodies. And by creating these supranational bodies, they have to dilute their sovereignty. Then why they have done so? क्योंकि उनके लिए तो sovereignty सबसे important है. And these bodies are created by whom? States only. Then why they have created and why willingly they are looking forward to join it? And by joining it, this has led to the dilution of sovereignty. Why they do so? So they join these bodies for their own interest. And states, for state, what is prerequisite? Interest. Understand? Yeah, there's a debate between liberals and realists. Will continue, as I said, will continue in paper 2. Realist will emphasize more and more on what? Sovereignty. For realist, states will never compromise on sovereignty. Even if states have created these bodies, they have done it for their own interest. And if by being a party to that, it will undermine their interest, they will come out of this. Example, Brexit. The moment Britain realized that being a party to EU is impacting their interest, they decided to come out of EU. So they will remain a party into this till the time it will serve their interest. This is the belief of realists. So the realist thought process, realist will emphasize a lot on what? State sovereignty. Okay. What is world politics, international politics? Bolo, politics between the sovereign states. What is global politics? Politics which has evolved out of global governance. Till Second World War, what kind of politics was prevailing in the world? World politics. After the end of Second World War, new institutions were created in the world with the belief to bring peace, and a lot more emphasis and focus was given to what? UN. So a lot of focus has given to what? Global governance. And with global governance, with the emergence of supranational institution, the politics of the world, the face of the politics of the world has changed to global politics. Now the question mark is still in contemporary times, in the present times, world politics is world politics or it has turned to global politics? Whose role you see more important at present in the world politics? Role of the sovereign state or the role of the global institutions? Can UN has able to deter Russia to end its war? No. Is Russia's compromise on its sovereignty integrity? No. So for realists, it will never be possible that states will going to compromise on sovereignty. So world politics will always remain world politics. But liberals will emphasize a lot on what? Global governance. And they will push for what kind of world? Global politics. So liberal wants to strengthen which institutions? Institutions of global governance. according to whom these institutions of global governance will never going to make any difference, and states will never going to compromise on sovereignty, realist, and they will keep emphasizing on what world politics will remain world politics. समझ आई बात? Very good. Relevant question will continue in paper 2. Continuation of this question will be the part of our paper 2. That which ideology is more relevant in the contemporary times. ठीक है? लिखो. क्या लिखा था? Like UN and EU IMF. Right? What is supranationalism? What is supranationalism? Right? It is the existence of authority. It is the existence of an authority that is higher than that of nation state. Authority whose authority is higher than that of nation state. Is UN authority higher than that of nation states? In general, yes, but not in case of at least P5. Right? So you can see both views are prevailing. Realists are also right, and liberals are able to strengthen the institutions of global governance. In future, as a diplomat from India, what will be your endeavor? To strengthen the institution of global governance, right? That is higher than that of nation state and capable of imposing its will. Existence of authority that is higher than that of nation state and capable of imposing its will. Will, full stop. Supranationalism thus transfers sovereignty and decision-making authority. Supranationalism thus transfers sovereignty and decision-making authority from states to international organizations. Transfers sovereignty and decision-making authority from states to international organizations. So what is the view of realist? States will join, but they will do it for their own interest. Now, there are few issues, there are few goals which no state can afford to achieve on its own. So there are few issues for which states have to compromise. So if states are coming together, it is for their own interest. Issues like climate change. So can any country on its own can afford to tackle climate change, which is a threat for all? No. So this is the reason why states are coming closer to counter common threats like climate change, terrorism. Okay. No. Who said this? On paper, it is to serve the interest of all. हाँ, on paper. So हम तो वही बात कर रहे हैं ना जो on paper है. Reality थोड़ी ना कर रहे हैं. हम तो terrorist. We are discussing things which we consider as real on paper. Otherwise, there's a big question mark on democracy itself. We are not saying democracy is the rule of the propertied class. You are believing Constitution of India is sovereign or not? On paper, it is. That's why. So we are doing the things and discussing, believing the things which are there on paper. Okay. Ligo. Full stop. Last 2 points. The advancement of supranationalism. No one can deny this fact that since the end of Second World War, we have seen advancement of supranational bodies. The advancement of supranationalism has tilted. Sorry, advancement of supranationalism since the end of World War II. Advancement of supranationalism since the end of Second World War or World War II has tilted international politics towards global politics. International politics to global politics. So what will be the stand of realist? No, world politics will never turn to completely global politics. World politics will remain world politics where state will never compromise on sovereignty. Liberals' constant endeavor will be to do what? Strengthen the institutions of global governance to convert world politics into global politics. ये debate है between liberals and realists. Ultimate aspiration of liberals is world government. So if I ask, is it possible to have a world government where everyone will be forced to follow the norms and the rules of that particular organization and entity? Is it possible to have world government?
No.
Realist? No. Liberals? Yes. And constant endeavor should be to achieve the objective of world government. Where we are, till what point we have reached? Supranationalism, and we are still far from world government. So is UN a world government? No. UN is what? A supranational body. Aspiration is to convert UN into world government. ये aspiration है. समझ में आई बात? So we'll continue our discussion tomorrow. So I hope you are able to understand many of the things which we have discussed today in the class. Do revise your lecture, and we'll start our next lecture with your questions if you will have any. 50-60% clarity आई नेशन स्टेट में. चलो अच्छी बात है, आ गई तो. So you are free to ask your doubts if you have any. Just revise what we have discussed today. And tomorrow we'll continue our discussion with evolution of state. State evolve कैसे हुआ? Today I have not told you what evolution. Today I told you what state is. Tomorrow I'll tell you how state has evolved. Ancient, medieval, modern time, and the present concept of state evolved in modern times under the Treaty of Westphalia. ठीक? We'll continue. हाँ जी. अभी कुछ नहीं पढ़ना, कोई भी बुक नहीं पढ़नी, ठीक है? अभी बुक्स नहीं टच करनी है, अभी सिर्फ क्लास लेक्चर्स पर रिलाई करना है. बाद में बताऊंगा कब, ठीक है? कल पूछ लेना क्वेश्चन. हाँ बोल. हाँ हाँ. हाँ तो colonialism imperialism का तो पार्ट है ही. तो स्टार्ट ऑफ ब्रिटिश imperialism continued with colonialism, but हम कहीं imperialism more exploitative है ना. Difference है ना, a clear demarcation. It was East India Company who was doing colonialism, and British Parliament when took over the control, it imperialism. हाँ कल करेंगे, बोले रिवाइज कर आज. हाँ हाँ. If state do not have a strong, हाँ, do not have a.
The national bodies are can enforce their will.
We are no. If UN will pass one, let's say UN has passed a rule or a regulation, it is expected states need. UN has passed sustainable development goals. It is expected from the state to fulfill those goals or not.
But it's
Not impose in certain thing. UNSC can take a military action against the states or not? Yes. हाँ जी.
North Korea is not recognized by the free France, Japan, and South Korea. That is US recognized.
किसको?
North Korea. Does that recognize North Korea?
No, I don't think so. US recognize North Korea.
The meeting between the
Meeting can take place, not recognition. US will not establish diplomatic ties.
वो हमें कैसे पता चलेगा? इंटरनेट में हम अलग अलग चीजें
कहाँ पर?
जैसे इंटरनेट में हम सर्च करते हैं तो अलग अलग चीजें लिखते हैं.
कहाँ पे? श्रीलंका में सेमी प्रेसिडेंशियल है, मुझसे पूछ लो. हाँ मैं बता दूंगा. श्रीलंका में सेमी प्रेसिडेंशियल है, और हाँ अब मैं बता तो रहा हूँ सेमी प्रेसिडेंशियल है श्रीलंका में. और मैं चेक करो
Like उसके अंदर बहुत सारी चीजें
नहीं, बस पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम चेक करना है, जैसे कि भूटान में, हाँ भूटान टाइप किया
जैसे अफगानिस्तान में टोटली
अभी, हाँ अभी उसका रहने दो ना, ये भूटान पे गए, पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम ही चेक करना है। हाँ जी, एनी ऑनलाइन स्टूडेंट एनी डाउट? ये देखिए यहाँ पर बस ये चेक किया, गवर्नमेंट कैसी है, यूनिटरी पार्लियामेंट्री सेमी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मोनार्की। गवर्नमेंट कौन कैसी है, ठीक, आज पहले रिवाइज करो, आएंगे ये सारी बातें, विल मेक यू राइट।
condition for not having strong political institution.
You can put that condition. Yes.
No, like why it should not have strong political institution.
Then why it should not have? It needs to have political institution. If state do not have these, so state need to have these to become a empirical.
Okay, so they do need to have strong.
Ah,
Okay.
you have not interpreted it right.
Yes.
हाँ, बाद में कर लेंगे डिस्कशन, अभी सारा आज ही कर ले। ज्योतिका will continue discussion tomorrow. Ask your doubt, okay? जल्दी से।
Sir, I just wanted to confirm the definition of actual empirical state, because I wrote even after being a legal juridical state, if states do not have strong political
हाँ, so
institutions,
जिन states के पास ये नहीं होगा, those states do not have strong political institutions, they can't be called as empirical.
they can't be called.
They need to have strong political. Like US, Sweden, France, है ना?
Thank you, sir.
बोल